What's your approach to setting goals? I think this is probably going to be quite a relevant topic since this podcast is going to be published around the beginning of the year. So there's going to be a lot of people who will be writing down, or maybe they have written down their goals and they're set to try and achieve them as best they possibly can do. Mm-hmm. What's your approach?
Yeah, so I think that goal setting at the end of the year especially is like really, really awesome experience and a great level up if you can do that right. As I've kind of gotten more and more experience as an entrepreneur, I actually try to begin that process earlier and earlier in the year. So I used to leave it for something that was like, oh, December 29th and 30th, when I have 2 days off on vacation, whatever, I'm just going to journal for a bit and come up with my goals. For me now, my process starts like mid-November, like just getting a lot more serious, slowing down, and beginning that process. And it generally begins with a reflection. There's a quote from Ray Dalio, which is pain plus reflection equals progress. And so I think it's really important to slow down for a second and think about your year. You know, what went well, what didn't go well, what were the people that really stood out that changed your life? What are the people that really, sucked your energy? What were the experiences that really stood out that were rewarding? Which things sucked your energy? And getting clear on the things that you want to lean into the next year, and then the things that you want to kind of avoid. And oftentimes I find like a lot of just the plan for the year or the things that you kind of need to double down on just kind of emerge from that reflection. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I use, a vision board system I've built out, which is essentially just getting clear on, the values, your 10-year vision of where you're trying to go, your 3-year vision from that, and then getting clear on, okay, what do I want to get done by December 31st, 2024? And what do I need to do over the next 90 days? To get there, mm-hmm. And not overwhelming yourself with 1,000 things you want to get done, but what are those like 3 to 5 big needle mover tasks that if you get those done in the next 90 days, like you will be successful. And so I like to take my time, get clear on those, and then within my companies make sure that everyone's doing this exercise as well, so that everyone collectively is getting clear on the goals for the next 90 days, how their individual goals ladder up to the company goals, and ensure that we're just kind of like all operating in like the same direction versus swimming in different lanes in different areas and kind of all going, all over the place.
Yeah.
So
I did this the process of going through everything and reflecting upon my year. And I did write a list at the beginning of this year. I achieved half the things I wanted to achieve. But I look back and I think I was quite ambitious with every single thing which I wanted to accomplish. And I feel as though that is one potential thing to be aware of, is maybe don't set too many goals that are almost separate from one another. Maybe instead just think of like 2 or 3 really big things that you want to do.
Yeah.
And then just do everything in your power to achieve those things. Because if you, like you said, if you have a list of 10 things, 10 huge things, ultimately you have to kind of decide, well, which one of these is the priority and which one is going to be the most realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I think, there's that balance, right, between creating goals that you 100% can attain, and at the same token, like creating these stretch goals, right, that like you're saying, like you only accomplish 50% of the things. I'd say the positive side of that though is like you're being really ambitious, mm-hmm. and you're like stretching yourself to be like, hey, I wonder if I could just push myself this year, make it super epic and get these things done. Like that would be pretty insane. And I think, every person's got their own sense on that. For me, I think that balance is like, ideally you're completing around 70% of the things that you had outlined for that year. Mm-hmm. So you're being really ambitious and stretching yourself, but not able to quite accomplish all of them because they were that ambitious. Yeah. That's the kind of range that I like to do. But for other people, they're different and to each their own. I think then the most important thing with all of it is don't let it, which is what 99% of people are guilty of, is that it becomes this like once a year exercise. They close the journal, they put it aside, it moves down the shelf a bit over the years, and then they look back at it the following December and they're like, oh shit, I forgot I even made that. So I think it's important to kind of, again, create some sort of system around it, which is like, for me, actually like add these things to Asana, like really organize these things in my calendar, like, get started on creating these things now, so that they actually come true and they're not just like nice to haves. They're things that you are actually going to make happen. Mm-hmm. And then I make an exercise too, which is having like a personal board meeting with myself every month. And so I think, you hear about in public companies, the CEO has to meet with a board every, quarter talk about the performance of the company, how they're doing, how the team's doing. Are they above numbers, below forecast, whatever? I take all those goals that I have for a given year, put that into a deck essentially, which is like a board meeting. And I just have it with myself every last weekend of a given month. And so that Sunday, go grab an iced Americano, go for a little hike, go look at this deck that I've created, which is like my goals that I said I would get done that year, that quarter, the hires I need to make, the changes that I need to make, the things I need to learn, the, new goals that I have, whatever it may be, right? And just making sure that there's like a feedback loop there so that these things, again, don't just get buried and, get forgotten about.